After Chloe Bennett me ex-girlfriendied, I started using her old WeChat account as a personal memo pad, mostly just to log my daily spending and random complaints I didn't want to post publicly, like emotional leftovers I wasn't ready to throw away, because honestly, I couldn't bring myself to delete her chat even though she was gone, and maybe I just needed somewhere to dump thoughts I didn't want to say out loud. So on a quiet Tuesday night, while walking past Brooklyn Pet Company, I impulse bought a baby black and white rabbit for $15 and casually logged it in the memo app with a simple line, spent $15 on TT today, and then I rubbed the rabbit's floppy ears, tossed my hoodie on the couch, and forgot about it until 2 minutes later. My phone started blowing up with a non-stop stream of creepy texts from that exact account, like someone possessed had hacked it and decided to write fanfiction starring me. But the Tonio man, the tone was way too familiar. TT, you actually cheated on me. Am I not hotter, Kavya, smarter than that little fox? I swear I'll send you every single spicy photo in my camera roll, and don't you dare ignore me, you jerk, followed by a photo dump that made me nearly choke on the carrot I was feeding the rabbit, and then came another, fine, I'll consider letting you touch it later, but only if you beg nicely, which would have been hilarious if it wasn't also terrifying. Because I swear I hadn't touched Chloe's account since she passed and definitely hadn't given access to anyone else, but the typing didn't stop. Why didn't you reply in 10 minutes? Are you rejecting this marriage proposal? And I sat there frozen, rabbit in one hand, phone in the other, wondering if this was some next-level haunting or a sick prank from one of my childhood friends who knew too much, until the last message dropped like a horror movie jump scare, you dare bring that little fox into my house. I'm gonna kill her today, followed by an angry selfie of my childhood nemesis turned national film queen, Emily Carter, holding a freaking baseball bat and looking around like she was ready to take heads, which didn't even make sense because we hadn't spoken in months, not since she went viral for that ice-cold goddess image that somehow got her a Grand Slam sweep in just 3 years and left me, Ethan Walker, stuck as an 18th-tier no-name actor grinding live streams with a bunny for rent money. But there she was, full-on crazy mode, kicking my apartment door open during a bunny Q&A session that had already drawn in 10,000 fans, screaming, "Where is that little fox?" like she was in some Tarantino revenge flick, scaring my poor rabbit so bad it bolted behind the couch, and I was just standing there midstream, mouth half open, as the chat exploded with chaos. Is that Emily Carter? OMG, is this a love triangle IRL? Actress versus little fox. And my heart dropped faster than my viewer count when I realized the entire internet thought we were in a live-action scandal involving breakups, betrayal, and possibly a public threesome, which I didn't even understand because I didn't do anything except buy a bunny and record it in a memo, and now the top actress in America was in my living room with a weapon, muttering, "She seduced you with her dumb fox face. I'm 10 times hotter," while sobbing like a rejected prom queen, and I was just trying to end the stream. But my Wi-Fi decided now was the perfect moment to lag, leaving me stuck as 30 million people watched me get accused of cheating by a woman who wasn't even my girlfriend, or was she? Because she suddenly threw the bat aside, ran up to me, grabbed my shirt, and said, "I don't care if she's a ghost or a fox or a goddess, I'm the one you're supposed to end up with," and I froze as my assistant Jake Morgan burst in with an iPad yelling, "Bro, you're trending worldwide. We're #1. All the tags are about you, Emily, and some mysterious bunny girl," and when I looked down, the iPad screen showed TikTok Live with headlines like, "Top actress caught in midnight love triangle," and "Unknown actor thrust into fame after bunny stream drama," and I just wanted to crawl into the rabbit hutch and never come out, but it was too late. Emily was already hugging my shoulders on camera, whispering, "I'm willing to be the mistress if I have to," and the chat barrage screamed things like, "Is this a confession? Wait, isn't she his childhood enemy? Why do I suddenly ship this?" While I stood there, frozen like a deer caught in a soap opera, realizing that everything went to hell the moment I typed TT in that stupid memo, and now the whole world thought I was starring in a live-action rom-com with America's Most Wanted actress, all because I bought a damn bunny. The moment I managed to close the cursed live stream after like 12 panic taps and a full minute of buffering, I thought I'd have a second to breathe, but nope. Jake came running back in, holding the iPad like it was the 10 Commandments, his face pale as if he'd seen a ghost, except this ghost wore red lipstick and had 30 million fans, and all he could say was, "Dude, she detonated the internet," and I snatched the iPad, already dreading what I'd see, and there it was, me name and Emily Carter's. Trending together in every possible variation: Bunny scandal, top actress caught on live, Emily and Ethan CP confirmed, and worse, some crackhead headline reading, 18th tier actor and Ice Queen film goddess caught in late night threesome scandal, which was obviously fake news, but the netizens didn't care. They were already creating fan edits, conspiracy threads, and meme compilations. And someone even drew fan art of me half-naked feeding grapes to Emily while a bunny sat smugly on my lap, and as if that wasn't bad enough, Jake muttered, "There's already a 14-chapter Wattpad FIC about you two called Whiskers of Temptation, and the first chapter has you licking whipped cream off her finger," and I damn near blacked out, but I couldn't even rage because right then, Emily freaking Carter walked back into my living room like she owned it, hair fixed, eyeliner sharp, and calmly said, "We need to talk." Like she hadn't just almost bashed my skull on live TV, and I, being the reasonable man I am, threw a couch pillow at her and yelled, "You broke into my apartment with a weapon and confessed to being my dead girlfriend on WeChat. What else is there to talk about?" And she had the nerve to sit down, cross her legs, and say, "First of all, Chloe Bennett never existed," and I stopped breathing for a second, then blinked and muttered, "Excuse me, what?" And she pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and held up the WeChat profile I'd been using for years, the one I thought belonged to Chloe, and said, "That was me, Ethan, all of it since high school," and I swear my soul left my body for a moment because I couldn't comprehend how the hell that was possible, and she just kept going, voice weirdly calm, "Your sister Sarah helped me set it up back when you were obsessed with your grades and I was just the annoying girl next door, and you kept ignoring my existence, so I made up someone who'd study with you, cheer you on, and say all the stuff I couldn't," and I sat there stunned, watching years of late-night chats, heartfelt encouragements, and even those dumb bunny stickers flash before my eyes, realizing that my so-called dead girlfriend had been Emily Carter LARPing as my AI girlfriend this whole damn time, and then it hit me like a truck. On the day my college results came out and Chloe died in a fake accident, it was Emily ghosting me because she didn't know how to tell the truth. And I wanted to throw something, maybe myself, out the window, but instead I just stared at her and asked, "Why now?" And she laughed bitterly and said, "Because I didn't think you'd ever figure it out unless I blew something up. Turns out I blew up your whole career," and I wanted to scream, except part of me, some traitorous, nostalgic part, was already connecting the dots. The pep talks during finals, the way Chloe always sent links to my acting reels with dumb emojis, the exact typing style Emily used during our fight earlier, and I realized I'd been in love with her for way longer than I ever admitted, but that wasn't the point. The point was she catfished me for 10 years, faked a death, and just derailed my quiet nobody life with 80 million curious eyes watching, so I did the only logical thing. I messaged her alt account and wrote, "Today Ethan Walker and Emily Carter broke up. We are no longer friends. Do not contact me again." And on her side, apparently, that hit like a nuke because 5 minutes later Jake burst in again and yelled, "Bro, she's sprinting through the makeup room like she's being chased by TMZ," and the next thing I knew, the livestream to our variety show rehearsal was back on, and Emily stormed into the set, half made up, mascara streaking down her cheek like a Greek tragedy heroine, shoved past the hosts, threw her arms around me in front of 10 million live viewers, and screamed into her mic, "I'm willing to be your mistress," and the chat lost its collective mind. Comments were flying so fast the screen looked like Times Square on acid, people spamming crying emojis, fan cams, and one guy simply typing, "She said what?" 100 times in all caps, and I stood there stiff as a board as Emily wept into my shoulder like her life depended on it, mumbling incoherent lines about regret, love, and some quote about being in the same pants since childhood, which I was 99% sure she just made up. And the host, God bless that poor woman, tried to salvage it with a nervous laugh, saying, "So, Emily, does this mean you and Ethan are together now?" And Emily sniffled, wiped her eyes, and said in the most dramatic voice possible, "If he doesn't want me on the bed, I'm okay sleeping under it," and I think I died a little right then, but before I could reply, the director cut the live stream for emergency emotional regulation, and the production team dragged us backstage, where Jake whispered, "Congratulations, you're now America's hottest CP." Our inbox has 43 sponsorship deals and a bunny food brand wants to name their newest pellet line, Carter Walker Crunchies, and I wanted to slam my head into a wall, but instead I turned to Emily, who looked like a wet cat wrapped in Gucci, and said, "We're faking this, right? Like, for real. Just 2 days of CP hype and then we're done," and she nodded so fast I thought her head might fall off, except 5 seconds later she updated her Twitter with a selfie of us and the caption, "My boyfriend is cuter than your bunny," which immediately hit trending again, and at this point I just gave up, walked away, and muttered to myself, "God help me, she's turning this into a romance arc, because even if I blocked her again, she'd probably find another rabbit and another excuse," and I wasn't sure if I was the victim of a PR scheme or the male lead in a very cursed enemies to lovers story, but deep down, somewhere between her fake death and real tears, I had a feeling this wasn't ending in 2 days. Not even close. I really thought it would all die down after the live stream chaos and the accidental confession heard round the world, but apparently, when Emily Carter decides to fake date someone, she commits harder than a Netflix method actor on their last Emmy campaign, because not only did she not back off after that messy scene, she started showing up at my filming set every day, bringing 5-star packed lunches, folding chairs with our names embroidered on them, and even a travel-size air purifier. Because apparently she couldn't let her Ethan breathe dusty trailer air, and at first I chalked it up to PR damage control, but then she posted a 9-tweet thread called, "How to Support Your Man on Set Like a Goddess," with behind-the-scenes pics of me mid-bite and captioned it, "My hard-working baby rabbit face flexed biceps light skin tone sparkles," and the internet, instead of calling her out, absolutely ate it up, flooding the tags with Carter Walker canon and sending us sponsored bunny hats and couple mugs like we were a fanfic come to life, and Jake me assistant/part-time crisis manager just kept shrugging and saying, "It's free publicity, bro," which would have been fine if Emily hadn't upped her game by sliding her hand into mine during breaks like we were on some romantic K-drama schedule, or sneaking bunny ear filters on my selfies and uploading them to her stories like we were one step away from a Valentine's Day pregnancy announcement. And it didn't help that the crew bought into it fully, with the makeup artist whispering, "Power couple vibes," and the director calling us cinematic gold, while I, Ethan Walker, former background extra 7 in a toothpaste commercial, was just trying to survive each day without blushing into oblivion. But then came the turning point, or maybe the crack in the illusion, because one afternoon Mr. Thompson, the old school director Emily respected like a second dad, pulled me aside and handed me a WeChat contact, saying, "I know you and Emily had a rough patch. This is her real account. Don't block her this time," and I frowned, because I already had her added, didn't I? Except when I scanned the ID, my blood ran cold. It was the account, the Chloe Bennett one, the one I'd been using as a personal memo, the one that had comforted me through finals, celebrated my auditions, cheered when I booked roles, even told me to hang in there when I wanted to quit acting after failing my first drama callback. And I felt like the earth cracked beneath me because suddenly everything made sense and also made nothing make sense, like finding out your imaginary friend was actually your arch-nemesis in disguise this whole time, and I started scrolling through the chat history with new eyes, catching every clue I had missed, the way Chloe used the same sarcastic tone as Emily, how she once sent me a digital coupon for almond milk the exact same day Emily made fun of my lactose-free diet in public, and how she always, magically, knew when I was broke, down bad, or drunk, texting my feelings into the memo field, and then it hit me like a freight train. I'd spent years talking to Emily without knowing it was her, bearing my soul to someone I thought had died, and she was alive the whole time, not just alive, but famous, powerful, and still texting me from the shadows like some kind of emo Batman with a crush. And the next thing I did was run straight home, dig out my old messages, and start comparing timestamps like a damn detective, only to find a terrifying overlap between Emily's press interviews and Chloe's pep talks, as if she had been switching personas mid-rehearsal, faking aloofness in front of the world while secretly hyping me up like the most supportive girlfriend imaginable. And I didn't know whether to cry or scream, so instead I did the dumbest thing possible. I sent a dumb, angry, horny joke message to her alt account, something like, "See you tonight at 9 p.m., Hilton room 8306, wear red heels and bring my TT," and instantly regretted it, because not even 5 minutes later Jake called, screaming so loudly my AirPods short-circuited, SHE. Just got 3/5/20 texts live on the Fame game, bro you broke the industry, and I panicked, opening Twitter to see Emily projection show trending with 1 million retweets, and a blurry clip of her bolting off stage mid-game to chase me. Or maybe the ghost of my dignity. Followed by countless updates from hotel staff who apparently live-streamed her weeping outside the wrong room, complete with comments like, "Clown Princess of Love returns," and, "Just give her a bunny back," and if that wasn't enough, Emily herself posted a teary selfie at midnight captioned, "I brought you an apology gift, but I'm still blocked. Maybe the rabbit can explain," and I ran to my door like I was in a K-drama finale and found, no joke, a tiny black rabbit in a gift box with a ribbon and a note that read, "I'm sorry for everything. I just wanted to be there when no one else was," and maybe I should have been mad, maybe I should have blocked her again, but instead I picked up that little fuzzball and held it against my chest like a second heart because damn it, it was all too much, the chaos, the lies, the twisted affection, and somehow I still couldn't bring myself to hate her, not after realizing she'd been with me through it all, even if it was in the weirdest, most emotionally manipulative, secretly wholesome way imaginable. And the next morning she posted one more note, saying she was sorry for stealing the spotlight, for confusing my past with her present, and that she'd be staying away until I was ready to talk again, and for a few days, she did no tweets, no live streams, no bunny images, just silence, and I thought maybe that was it, maybe our arc had ended, until exactly 1 week later, I knocked on her door with the grumpiest, most awkward expression imaginable, holding a shopping bag full of bunny treats and one very annoyed assistant in tow, and when she opened the door, eyes puffy, hair a mess, and pajamas still rumpled from oversleeping, I didn't say a word. I just stepped inside, pointed at the floor, and said, "We have a problem," because my apartment had become a freaking rabbit kingdom, and someone needed to help me babysit the 23 new rabbits that had miraculously appeared in the last 10 days. Her face went from confused to amused to full-blown starry-eyed in 0.3 seconds, and that was the moment I knew this wasn't going to be over in 2 days, or 2 weeks, or even 2 fake sponsorship cycles. This rabbit-fueled, live-stream-shattering disaster of a love story had just evolved into something dangerously real. I should have known letting Emily Carter back into my life even temporarily wasn't going to be a quiet, bunny-feeding, emotionally neutral arrangement, because the second she stepped foot into my rabbit-overrun apartment with that soft, "Oh my God," and picked up one of the little furballs like it was a newborn prince, something in her switched on. Like her inner housewife meets animal rescue volunteer arc had been waiting to launch since day one, and before I could even explain how I'd somehow become the father of 23 rabbits, she was already assigning them nicknames like Snowball, Chonky, Bitey 2, and CEO Fluff, then reorganizing my pantry into a carrot-only shelf and asking if she could borrow my credit card for essential bunny enrichment, and I, being the weak-willed fool that I am, just stared at her while nodding slowly like a broken animatronic at Chuck E. Cheese, because honestly, the image of Emily Carter kneeling on my floor in a Prada sweatshirt while scooping bunny poop into a glittery pink litter box might have short-circuited whatever remained of my judgment, and it didn't stop there. She started sleeping over, accidentally, like she'd show up with a, "just for today," duffel bag and then forget it, and the next thing I knew, her makeup was in my bathroom, her fuzzy slippers were beside my bed, and her toothbrush was color-coded with mine. And Jake, my assistant, nearly choked when he walked in one morning to see her half-feeding me grapes while scrolling through scripts, and when he raised an eyebrow, I panicked and blurted out, "We're innocent. I swear we're just co-parenting rabbits," but then I tripped over my own damn foot and fell straight into Emily's lap, where she instinctively caught me and said in the softest voice, "Watch your step, bunny daddy," and that's when Jake spotted the small velvet ring box that had rolled out from under the couch and into the center of the floor like some divine plot device, and his face twisted like he was witnessing the trailer for the final season of a telenovela, and I wanted to disappear. Melt into the rug, turn into a rabbit myself, anything but be there while he shouted, "You're engaged," and I yelled back, "No we're not, I don't even know where that came from," and Emily had the audacity to look away, biting her lip with that guilty but not guilty look, and I swear I lost 5 years off my life trying to clean up that misunderstanding, but the internet had already sensed blood because somehow, despite our best efforts to stay off camera, someone caught a blurry photo of Emily leaving my building with bunny ears on her head and me holding what looked like a velvet box, and boom, another explosion. This time Carter Walker proposal trended for 72 hours, and suddenly magazines were emailing Jake asking for exclusive wedding rights and pet-themed bridal spreads, and Emily, instead of denying it, made things worse by posting a cryptic story that said, "It's not official yet. But never say never." Winking face rabbit ring, and I nearly passed out from the chaos, but I let it slide because deep down I knew she didn't mean harm. She just had a terrifying talent for stirring public obsession without lifting a finger, and yet it was getting harder to draw the line between fake and real, because every day she was there waking me up with coffee, editing my audition tapes, cuddling with the rabbits on my couch like she belonged, and my brain kept short-circuiting because this was the same girl who used to sabotage me in high school, who posted an ugly photo of me picking my nose with the caption, "Cute but dumb," who competed with me for valedictorian and somehow made me cry over physics once, and now here she was, gently fluffing a bunny's tail while humming the same cheesy indie song she pretended to hate back then. And one night while we were cleaning the rabbit pens, I finally broke and asked, "When did you start all this?" And she paused, hand halfway to a mop, then mumbled, "High school. When you said you wanted to be an actor and everyone laughed except me," and that shut me up real fast, because I remembered that moment too, the way she didn't laugh, just looked at me like she already knew I'd get there one day, and I didn't know what to say, so I just kept mopping while pretending the dust in my eye wasn't emotional trauma leaking out. And a few days later, during a set break, Mr. Thompson came by again and said, "Kid, whatever you and Emily have going on, don't screw it up. It's the most human thing I've seen on camera in years." And I stood there awkwardly, trying to figure out if I was being praised or threatened, but then he patted my shoulder and walked away, leaving me more confused than ever. And things only got weirder when the network called to say our variety show was getting a special bonus episode because viewership had tripled overnight, 90% of it thanks to America's Favorite Couple, and that they wanted to do a live Q&A in studio with us front and center, and I immediately said, "Nope," but Jake overruled me and Emily said, "Absolutely." So next thing I knew, I was on a couch beside her under 5 ring lights with a bunny in my lap, pretending not to sweat through my hoodie as fans flooded the chat with questions like, "Who confessed first?" and "When's the baby coming?" And I almost choked on my own spit while Emily just smiled, leaned into the mic, and said, "He confessed," in his own grumpy little way, and I turned to her in horror and whispered, I literally typed, "Don't contact me again," and she winked and whispered back, "And yet here we are," and I hated how much I wanted to laugh, to lean in, to kiss her just to shut her up, but I didn't, because this was still all supposed to be fake, right? Except after the Q&A ended and we went home, she didn't leave, and I didn't ask her to, and the silence between us wasn't awkward, Anna Marie, it was something else, something fragile and full, like a secret we were both tiptoeing around. And that night when she tucked in the rabbits, one by one, she looked at me and said, "You never told me what you named the first bunny," and I said, "I didn't, it was just TT in the memo." And she smiled, almost sadly, and replied, "That was the first message you ever sent to me," and it hit me so hard I forgot how to breathe, because TT stood for something only we knew, something from back when things were simpler and messier and raw, and I looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time since all of this started, I realized I didn't want this story to be a show, or a scandal, or a phase. I wanted it to be real, messy, loud, bunny-infested, and painfully honest. Because Emily Carter wasn't my enemy, or my fake girlfriend, or my childhood rival. She was the girl who saw me before I even saw myself. It had been a few weeks since the studio Q&A, and though no one had said it out loud, not me, not Emily, not even Jake, who usually couldn't keep his mouth shut to save his life, something had shifted between us like we were walking through a door we both pretended wasn't open. And the thing was, it wasn't just the fans or the producers or even the press junkets calling us America's Couple anymore, it was us. It was the way she poured my coffee in the morning with oat milk even though she hated the taste, the way she scribbled hearts on post-its and stuck them on my script pages like little landmines of affection, the way she massaged my temples when I pulled an all-nighter editing my audition reel, or the way her fingertips brushed the inside of my wrist when she handed me the remote without thinking. Those small, stupid, ridiculously intimate things that made me forget this whole thing started with a rabbit and a fake relationship. And the real kicker was, she never even tried to Define it. Not once did she say, so what are we? Or, are we official now? No, Emily Carter just quietly took up residence in my life like she'd always belonged there, and honestly, I didn't hate it, not even a little, even when she turned my fridge into a kale sanctuary or put 3 of the rabbits on a raw diet trial, even when she hijacked my phone during a live stream and accidentally called me, babe, in front of 2 million people, and I swear my ears turned red for a week after that, but the thing is, we never talked about Chloe again, not the account, not the catfish saga, not the fake death that emotionally wrecked me for a year because I guess some ghosts are too awkward to exorcise, and we just moved forward, day by day, post by post, rabbit by rabbit, and somewhere in that mess of studio interviews and bunny poop and late-night ramen, Emily decided she was going to manage my brand, which basically meant posting flattering pictures of me to her story with captions like, my man, my muse, my chaos, while I tried to pretend I didn't secretly read the comments every night before bed. But the internet didn't forget, not entirely, and the Chloe conspiracy still floated around in whispers and Reddit threads, until one night, we were curled up on the couch watching a rerun of some outdated dating show where a guy proposed with a ring pop and got rejected, and I made a joke like, at least he didn't fake die to avoid confrontation, and Emily went still, like Bunny freezing in the headlights still, and then she turned to me and asked, softly, do you still hate me for that? And I don't know why, but it hit me like a gut punch, maybe because it was the first time she'd ever admitted it out loud, like she was holding her breath the entire time and only now dared to let it out, and I looked at her, really looked, and all I could say was, I don't hate you. I think I was just afraid that none of it was real, and she blinked rapidly, like her brain was buffering, then nodded slowly and whispered, it was all real, even the dumb parts, and I didn't respond, just pulled her closer and rested my chin on her head because words were overrated anyway, and it felt easier that way, like maybe this was the first time we were actually on the same page. Even if the page was covered in rabbit paw prints and emotional baggage, and for a few blissful days, everything felt right, like scarily right, until the Variety team announced they wanted to do a special day in the life feature on our relationship, full camera crew, full access, and I was ready to say hell no, but Emily tilted her head with that mischievous glint and said, why not? Let them see what it's really like, and I don't know why I agreed. Maybe I was too in love to think straight or just terminally stupid, but either way, that's how I ended up being filmed shirtless, brushing my teeth beside her while 3 rabbits fought over a sock behind us, and things were mostly harmless until the interviewer asked me what our first real fight was about and I froze, because my mind blanked and all I could remember was Chloe, and Emily saw me flinch, and the moment passed, but not for her, because that night she was quieter than usual, didn't eat much, didn't post any cute couple selfies, and when I asked if she was okay, she just said, yeah, just tired, and curled up beside the rabbits like they could protect her from the weight of her own choices, and I hated it, hated seeing her that way, so I stayed up all night digging through my old WeChat logs, scrolling through years of Chloe messages and Emily's actual texts, trying to find a pattern, a timeline, a reason, something that would make it all click. And instead I found an entry I'd completely forgotten about, a message I'd written on the day of my college acceptance, thanking Chloe for believing in me, saying I hoped I'd be someone worthy of that kind of faith someday, and I just stared at it for a long time, then walked into the bedroom where Emily was passed out with 2 bunnies curled against her neck, and I whispered, you were always worthy, not even sure if she heard me, but the next morning she made me pancakes in the shape of rabbits and didn't say a word, just smiled like her whole heart was still hanging in the air, waiting to see if I'd catch it, and I did, or at least I tried, because a few days later when I got a call from the producer of the Fame Games saying I'd landed the role of a Life to Me, a lead in a rom-com that could finally put me on the map, the first person I told wasn't Jake or my agent or my mom, it was Emily, and she screamed so loud I thought the rabbits would have a collective heart attack, then launched herself at me, arms wrapped around my neck, and I realized that the bunnies, the chaos, the second-hand hoodie she kept stealing, this was my real win, and I didn't want to run from it anymore, so later that night, after the rabbits were fed and the dishes were done and the world felt quiet for once, I pulled out that same velvet ring box Jake once panicked over, held it in my palm, and asked, if this were real, would you say yes? And Emily blinked at me, stunned, speechless, maybe terrified, then slowly nodded and whispered, "I'd say yes every time," and I didn't open the box yet, didn't need to, because the look in her eyes said everything. And maybe, just maybe, this story that started with a memo, a ghost account, and one dumb bunny was about to get its real happy ending. I didn't propose that night, not officially, even though I had the ring, the moment, and a girlfriend. Well, whatever Emily Carter technically was at that point, who looked at me like I'd hung the stars with one hand and fed her bunnies with the other, but something told me to wait, not because I was unsure, but because I wanted it to be perfect, not in the flashy kind of way with drones and champagne waterfalls, but in the real, messy, chaotic, totally us kind of way, and I didn't have to wait long, because 2 weeks later, Emily got invited to a talk show where the host ambushed her with a segment called Lie Detector Love, which, for legal reasons, they claimed was a light-hearted game, but for drama reasons, it was basically a trap. And when they asked her if she really loved me, she looked straight into the camera, smiled with those soft, devastating eyes, and said, yes, without even blinking, and the machine beeped green, and the internet collectively lost its mind again. Especially when she added, "I'd marry him if he asked," no hesitation, and I was sitting in the audience that night wearing a hat and hoodie like some bargain bin Clark Kent, but the second that clip aired, my phone started vibrating non-stop with messages, tags, fan edits, and a trending hashtag called Proposal When Walker, and I should have been overwhelmed, but instead I was just ready, because after everything, the fake death, the live stream scandal, the rabbit invasion, the emotional whiplash, I knew I wanted her, all of her, every complicated, headstrong, bunny-obsessed inch of her. So I made a plan, a quiet one, nothing public, just us and the chaos we'd built together. And on a sleepy Thursday afternoon, when we were sitting on the balcony in the golden haze of sunset, watching two of our bunnies nap in a flower box like sentient potatoes, I slipped inside, grabbed the velvet box from the drawer she pretended not to know about, came back out with 2 mugs of her favorite lavender tea, handed her one, then got down on one knee like it was the most normal thing in the world and said, "Emily Carter, professional life ruiner, bunny co-parent, former fake ghost girlfriend, current reason I breathe, will you marry me?" And she laughed so hard she nearly spilled the tea, then wiped a tear away and whispered, "Only if I get naming rights to our first 20 rabbits." And I said, "Deal," and just like that, we were engaged. No live stream, no trending topic, no press release, just us, 2 mugs, and a rabbit who peed on my sock mid-sentence like nature was blessing the union. And of course Jake found out 0.2 seconds later, barged in with a confetti cannon he claimed he just happened to have, and suddenly the house was full of people, producers, friends, her makeup artist who somehow brought a tiered cake shaped like 2 bunnies hugging because Emily, being Emily, had secretly prepped a "maybe someday" folder full of emergency engagement logistics and told her team to be ready just in case. And I should have been weirded out, but honestly I wasn't even surprised anymore, because that's just how she loved, loudly, chaotically, all in, and I'd take that every single day. And when she posted the photo of the 2 of us standing barefoot on the balcony with bunny paw prints all over my shirt and a ring on her hand, she captioned it, "I guess the little fox wins." This time fox face ring, and the internet cracked in half, especially when I quote posted it with, "She never lost," and suddenly the top trending topic was, from memo to marriage, and even brands started DMing us like, "Want to collab on carrot-shaped rings?" and "Interested in a Netflix rom-com based on your life?" Which, wild, but honestly believable, because even I still couldn't believe how this started as a stupid 15 yuan rabbit purchase and a line of memo text sent to a dead girlfriend's chat, and somehow ended here, with a girl who faked being my biggest supporter because she didn't know how to just be herself, who fought me, cried with me, broke the internet with me, and ultimately never gave up on me, not once, not even when I blocked her, cursed her, ignored her, or tried to run away from what we were. And yeah, we got married, of course we did, but not in a cathedral or vineyard or any of that Pinterest crap. No, we got married in the backyard of our bunny-filled townhouse, with Jake officiating in a rabbit onesie and Emily walking down the aisle to the sound of "Accidentally in Love" being played on a kazoo by our pet sitter/violinist friend. And it was a mess, an absolute mess, a glorious disaster with floral confetti and carrot cupcakes and one rabbit chewing through the hem of her dress mid-vows. But it was us, completely and undeniably us. And after the ceremony, when we were sitting on the floor inside the house with Emily's lipstick smudged and me Barefoot holding her heels, I opened my phone and typed in one last memo entry into the old WeChat account before we finally retired it for good, spent everything on her. Worth it, and I showed it to her, and she smiled, leaned over, kissed me like she hadn't just married me but like she was about to marry me again, and said, "Memo closed." New chapter unlocked, and that night, as the lights dimmed and our guests slowly trickled out and the bunnies nestled into sleep around us like fluffy little punctuation marks to a wild, unbelievable love story, I realized something. Sometimes the biggest love doesn't arrive with fireworks or fate, it arrives when you type the wrong thing into the right chat, when the girl you thought was your enemy turns out to be your co-author, and when life throws 25 rabbits at you and all you can do is say, "Bring it on."